Hi, I'm Cameron, and today we're going to be looking at a nested for loops problem. And we're going to be looking specifically at problem 3.3.10. This is an advanced problem, so it's meant to be a little tougher. So we're going to get through it. And I'm sure you've read the instructions on your own, so just a little quick summary of what we have to do here. We have this mystery int, 5, in our case. And what we want to do is we want to create a times table for 5. So right here we can see just a typical times table. We have 1 through 5 and then 1 through 5. And he says that we have to use two nested for loops, and that is our plan for today. And there's a hint here saying that we could use tab to create this times table. And so we're probably going to take that to heart and use tab today, because that is the easiest way to create this structure above. So just thinking about this, it's probably a lot easier to go horizontally like this and to create a string with a series of numbers plus tab, number plus tab, number plus tab. It's either easier to do that than to go down vertically like this. So how are we going to do that? Well, let's think about it like a times table. We have 1, and this number is going to be multiplied by every number in the range of 5. So 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 3 is 3, etc. 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, and so forth. So we want an outside for loop that's going to set up all of our numbers in the range of 5. So every number that's going to go through the multiplication cycle. So in other words, we want 1 to be multiplied by all of the numbers in 5. We want 2 to be multiplied by all of the numbers in 3. So we can start to see a structure for loops that we need. Because we want an outside loop, we want that loop to basically serve as our repeated cycle of numbers that need to be multiplied. And then we want an inner loop to multiply that number 5 times. So let's just do this visually. So we're starting out with our outside loop, so for I, because we want the range of 5, right? That's what we're looking for. And we don't care about 0, so we're going to start at 1. And what we want to do is we want to add 1 here because we don't care so much, or we want 1 through 5, and you know that the last number isn't going to be counted when we do range or indices, so we got to add 1. Okay. And so again, we want our structure to be one string, a row like this. So that means we're going to need a string, and we want to be adding things to it. So that sounds like we need an empty string just to start things off. And we want that empty string to be there for every number in this range, because for every number in here, there's going to be 5 numbers generated, right? Because 1 is going to be multiplied by all the numbers in 5, 2 is going to be multiplied by all the numbers in 5, so we want to create 5 different strings for every single number. So let's create that string. It's going to be regenerated every time. 2 little apostrophes. Okay, now we can start working on our inner loop, right? Because we've defined those starting numbers for our times table. So now we want to multiply 1 by all the numbers in 5. So that just means we use the same range, right? Because at this point, we've got the chunk of 1, and then we look at our row string, we just created that, and then 1 is going to be compared to all the numbers in 5, because remember, a for loop on the outside is going to run once, and then one iteration of this for loop contains all of the iterations of this for loop. So 1 is going to come from out here and go into here, and then this loop is going to run 5 times, or however many times this number is. And something that I'm missing and that I need is a j here, or just a different number. It could be any number, because I need to make sure that I have different anonymous variables for the sake of clarity. Okay, so now at this point, I need to create the products that are going to be part of my string. So very simple. Let's call a variable named product, and I'm going to need to multiply some numbers. So I know it's a times table, so it's going to be 1 times 1, and then it's going to be 1 times 2, and 1 times 3. So I need to multiply I times j. Right? I need to have that for every single iteration of this loop. But then at this point, I want to add those products, or this new product rather, to my string. So I'm going to have row string plus equals, because I'm doing string concatenation. And I want to add product, but how am I going to get it into this format? Well, if I have 1 times 1, I have I times j equals 1. I want to make sure I have a tab afterwards before I do 2 times 1, and then I want another tab, and then 3 times 1, and so forth. So in order to do this, I need to add a tab character. So let's do tab character. Okay, perfect, except it's not quite perfect, because remember, you can't do string concatenation if something isn't a string, because this is going to be an integer. So that means we have to convert this to a string. Okay. So now we know that at the end of this inner for loops iterations, we're going to have a perfectly nice string of all the numbers we want for our first row of the timetable. So now we want to print this row out. We want to print each row out at a time. Remember, we're going to have 5 rows. We want to print this row out, and then this row out, and then so forth. And this inner loop is going to generate this, and we just want to print it out each time the inner for loop is done. And so what I need to do is put this print statement right under this for loop. Oops. String. And it's important to have this right here and not out here, because if it were out here, then I would be printing just a very long, messy string. Rather, when I print it after each iteration of this for loop, I have this new line character that's going to be embedded, because I'm printing the strings out multiple times. So let's run this and see if it works. All right, and that is exactly what we're looking for. Okay, I hope that this helped, and good luck with the rest of the homework.